So I know it's annoying. I get how annoying it is for patients to show up and their paperwork is not done. As a matter of fact, I would say it's probably one of the top 5 complaints that business receptionists have with patients. They're immediately annoyed. And I get it. You've gone to all the work to send out the link. You've reminded them to fill out the paperwork. They've showed up directly on time for their appointment. And now our sweet Sally at the front is like, the hygienist is going to be so mad at me because this patient is not able to be seated on time because the paperwork wasn't done. I get it. It's totally and completely annoying. And I wish patients would do it, but we don't have very much control over that. So if they walk in and have not done their paperwork, if we show annoyance in our voice and in our face, yes, we're able to get a little bit of that out and we feel better that we were able to kind of ride the patient for that. But now we have done a disservice to our clinical team. So, clinical team members, if every time a patient shows up on time and they haven't done their paperwork, and you give Sweet Sally at the front lip about, did you not remind them to do the paperwork? Why didn't you remind them again? What you're creating is a rock and a hard place for Sweet Sally because what she needs to do is she needs to be able to greet that patient warmly and get them nice and warmed up so that that patient arrives happy in your seat. But she's so worried about you yelling at her for not getting the paperwork that now she's treating the patient poorly. And now that patient's sitting down in your chair and they're annoyed and you've got an upset patient. So please, we're all frustrated when patients don't show up with their paperwork, but please don't put that on Sweet Sally at the front. That is most of the time not her fault.
Well, I'm going to take it even a step further. Why are you annoyed? It's not a one off. Probably 50% of your patients every day.
Yeah.
We know it's going to happen. It's part of what we do.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. It's like when you live in the city. Oh, gosh, there's traffic today. Yeah, I live in downtown Dallas. There's going to be traffic. So if I'm not anticipating that there's going to be traffic and now I'm upset about it, who's the one who's not prepared? That's like my own mental hiccup I've created for myself to raise my own blood pressure. It should be the opposite. Oh my gosh, there's no traffic today. Oh my gosh, you did your paperwork? That's hallelujah, right? Set yourself up for success. Why are you surprised and upset? It's not an odd occurrence. It's a lot of people don't do their paperwork. So that should be like 50-50. They did it or they didn't. And if they didn't, then now we're going to have to spend some time on it. That is not the hill you need to be losing your cookies on, right? Pull it together because it's so important not to make that patient feel dumb, bad, guilted, because that is going to set the tone for everything else.
Absolutely. And I think one other thought on this is if we are prepared and we know that Joe Jones did not do his paperwork, if we do that on an iPad, we need to have that iPad loaded, ready to go. If Joe walks up and we're like, did you do your paperwork? And Joe's like, no, I didn't do my paperwork. We're like, pulling out the iPad, let me click, 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 let me load it, let me get it ready to go. That's time wasted. So if you know and you can see that Joe hasn't done his paperwork, it's not showing up in the portal or it's not loaded into your system, preload it onto the iPad, have that iPad ready to go around Joe's appointment time so that when you say, hey, Joe, I noticed that you didn't get the paperwork done. Did that link come through to you? I just want to make sure you're getting that. Joe's like, oh, the link came through, but I didn't get it done. No problem, Joe. I've got it right here for you. And you're immediately handing over that iPad so that he can get going on it pretty quickly. So,
And or like in our office, someone along the way decided that paper was not what we wanted. Honestly, this old dinosaur, I prefer paper. Like if you were
yeah.
to hand me paper, I'm like, yeah, I'd fill that out all day long.
Yeah.
Now you handed me an iPad. I'm like, okay, where are my readers? And like, what is this asking again? And did I push the wrong one? Right. So someone in our office decided. And so one day I was watching it or listening to them and I'm like, why can't you just hand them a clipboard with a paper form? They might be dinosaurs like me, or they may prefer the iPad, but whichever one you have teed up and ready to go. So it's not a big deal. Yes, I see some of the argument being like, but we're not training our patients to go and do it if we make it so easy for them. Like, please, please, that's not the spot where we want to lose this appointment. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's where you're like, okay, like what you said, yeah. Oh, you got the link. Okay, no worries. here's our next option. If you could go ahead, do you want the iPad or do you want paper? Or if you don't have the option, have something ready is the point.
Mhm.
You should have an option. And if that's even printing paperwork again, you shouldn't have to print it like a blank form. That should be ready to go. Okay, here you go. End
Absolutely.
of story. Move on.
Yeah. And then it also keeps that patient from feeling uncomfortable. And even if they do this every time, I am so glad you said that. Maybe on a good day, we've got 50% of our patients that have done the paperwork ahead of time. But ultimately, if Joe didn't fill out his paperwork today, guess what? He's not doing it next time either. So it's like, let's just rest with the fact that there's going to be patients that don't do their paperwork. And as long as we're always prepared for that and we can make it seamless and smooth, then it's going to make the patient not feel bad about doing that. Because sometimes I'll have teams that are like, but how can we get Joe to do his paperwork? Well, reminders, or the hygienist can say, hey, Joe, I know it's so annoying to have to do that paperwork ahead of time, but it's super helpful for me because I'm able to, number one, get started on time, but also I really like to thoroughly look through that medical history, and I do a lot of preparation for your appointment. I love to be prepared for you. And so I like to review that ahead of time. Next time, if you don't mind trying to do it ahead of time, that'd be super helpful for me. That is so much better than Sweet Sally at the front feeling like she's got to scold Joe for not getting his